The weapon inspection line on Kepler 7 station stretched longer than Yuki-Chen had imagined. She stood near the back, clutching a cloth-wrapped bundle against her chest. Around her, alien students from dozens of worlds chatted excitedly, showing off their equipment. A tall Zentari boy with purple skin held up a plasma rifle that glowed with blue energy. 3 Quillix girls compared their energy shields, making them flicker on and off like fireflies. Even the small Hetherian student ahead of her carried a sonic disruptor that hummed with power. Yuki looked down at her bundle. Inside was her great-grandfather's katana. 400 years old. No batteries. No targeting computer. Just steel and leather and wood. "Move forward, please," called the inspector at the checkpoint. His name tag read Toral, and he had gray scales and 4 arms. Each arm held a scanning device. The line shuffled ahead. The Zentari boy with the plasma rifle went through the checkpoint quickly. Toral barely glanced at the weapon before waving him through. The Quillix girls giggled as their shields were approved. The Hetherian student got a nod and a smile. Then it was Yuki's turn. She stepped up to the scanner and carefully began unwrapping her bundle. The cloth fell away slowly, revealing the katana inch by inch. The blade caught the station lights and seemed to glow from within. The steel was perfect, without a single scratch or mark. The handle was wrapped in old leather that had turned dark brown from generations of hands holding it. The guard was simple iron, shaped like a flower. Toral's 4 eyes widened. He leaned closer. "What is this?" "My weapon, sir," Yuki said softly. "It belonged to my great-grandfather. And his great-grandfather before him." Behind her, someone snorted with laughter. Yuki didn't turn around. Toral picked up the katana with 2 of his hands. He turned it over, examining every part. "This has no power source. No energy cell. No computer chip." "No, sir. It doesn't need those things. It's just metal? Steel, sir. Folded 1,000 times. And discipline." More laughter came from the line behind her. This time Yuki did turn. The Zentari boy was grinning widely, showing pointed teeth. His name badge said Dren. "She brought a museum piece." Dren announced loudly to everyone nearby. "Look. The human brought something from the Stone Age." Other students crowded closer to see. A Quillix girl with pink fur whispered to her friend. "Maybe Earth ran out of real weapons? Or maybe she's too poor to buy proper equipment," another alien suggested. Dren stepped out of line and walked right up to Yuki. He was nearly twice her height. His plasma rifle hung across his back, still humming with power. "Did your planet forget how to make actual weapons? This is the Galactic Youth Academy. We train warriors here, not museum guides." Yuki met his eyes calmly. She didn't speak. "Cat got your tongue?" Dren leaned down, his purple face close to hers. "Or are you scared already? Maybe you should go home to Earth where you belong." "That's enough," Toral said, but his voice didn't sound very firm. He handed the katana back to Yuki. "It meets the technical requirements. No electronics means no security risk. You're approved." "You're joking," Dren said. "You're letting her bring that thing into the academy?" "The rules don't specify technology level," Toral replied. He gestured for Yuki to move along. "Next." Yuki wrapped her katana carefully and walked past the checkpoint. The whispers followed her like a cloud. "Did you see that? Actual metal. Like from ancient times. Humans are so backward. No wonder they only got 3 spots this year. I heard they barely have space travel. Still using chemical rockets. And she's what, 10 years old? 11? They sent a baby with a butter knife." The main hall of Kepler 7 station opened before her. It was enormous, with ceilings so high she couldn't see the top. Hundreds of alien students moved through the space, heading to their assigned quarters. Some floated. Some crawled on 6 legs. Some teleported short distances with small devices on their wrists. Yuki walked, 1 step at a time. Her katana felt heavy in her arms, but it was a good weight. A familiar weight. She found her room number on a display board and followed the signs. The corridor was busy with students unpacking and meeting their roommates. Through open doors she saw expensive equipment being set up. Energy weapons mounted on walls. Holographic training programs. Personal shield generators. One room had what looked like a miniature spacecraft inside it. Her room was at the end of the hall. The door slid open when she pressed her hand to the panel. Inside were 2 beds, 2 desks, and 2 storage lockers. One side was already occupied. Her roommate had arrived first and claimed the bed near the window. Weapons covered the desk. Energy daggers. A small plasma pistol. Something that looked like a glowing whip. Yuki chose the other bed and sat down. She unwrapped her katana and laid it across her lap. In the station's artificial light, the blade still seemed to hold its own glow. She ran one finger along the flat of the blade, careful not to touch the edge. "My grandfather," she whispered to the empty room, "you told me this would be hard. You told me they wouldn't understand. But you also told me something else. You said a weapon is only as good as the spirit of the person holding it. You said technology fails but discipline endures." The door opened and a Quillix girl entered. She had blue fur and large golden eyes. She stopped when she saw Yuki, then noticed the katana. "Oh," the girl said. "You're the human with the antique." Yuki didn't respond. "I'm Lena," the girl continued. She pointed at her side of the room. "I guess we're roommates. Sorry about, well, you know. Everyone's talking about you." "I know," Yuki said simply. "Why did you bring that?" Lena asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. "I mean, don't humans have guns? Lasers? Anything modern?" Yuki stood and wrapped her katana again. She placed it carefully in her storage locker. "This blade has protected my family for 400 years. It's never failed. Never run out of power. Never needed repairs. It's simple. But simple doesn't mean weak." Lena tilted her head, thinking. "I guess that makes sense. Kind of." "You'll see," Yuki said quietly. She turned to start unpacking her other belongings. "Everyone will see." Outside in the corridor, laughter echoed. Dren's voice rose above the others. "The human thinks she's a samurai. Someone should tell her this isn't ancient Japan. This is the real galaxy." More laughter. More jokes. More whispers. Yuki continued unpacking, her face calm. Inside, though, her grandfather's words repeated like a meditation. "When they laugh, stay silent. When they mock, stay strong. When they doubt, prove them wrong. Not with words. With action. Always with action." She touched the locker where her katana rested. Soon, she thought. Soon they would understand. But not yet. First she had to be patient. First she had to learn. First she had to wait for the right moment. The moment would come. It always did. The combat training hall occupied an entire level of Kepler 7 station. Yuki entered with her katana wrapped and secured to her back. The room buzzed with energy as students tested their weapons on holographic targets. Explosions of light filled the air. Energy bolts zipped across the training floor. Shields crackled and sparked. Instructor Nash stood at the center of it all. He was a Hetherian veteran with gray scales and eyes that seemed to see everything at once. Scars covered his arms and neck. A missing finger on his left hand told stories of real combat, not just training exercises. "Line up." Nash's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Every student stopped immediately and formed rows. Yuki found a spot near the back. Nash walked slowly along the lines, examining each student. He paused at Dren, who stood proudly in his Centauri combat armor. The purple plates gleamed with fresh polish. Energy cores glowed at the shoulders and chest. "Good equipment," Nash said. "Your family has money." "The best armor credits can buy, sir," Dren replied with a grin. Nash moved on. He stopped again at a Quillix boy holding an expensive targeting computer attached to his rifle. "You let machines do your thinking?" "Sir, this computer calculates wind, distance, and target movement in 0.3 seconds. "And when it breaks?" The boy blinked. "Sir?" "When it breaks," Nash repeated slowly. "What then?" No answer came. Nash continued down the line until he reached Yuki. His eyes fixed on the cloth-wrapped katana on her back. "You're the human. The one with the old blade." "Yes, sir." "Show me." Yuki unwrapped the katana carefully. The other students craned their necks to see. Whispers started again. Nash took the blade and held it up to the light. He tested the weight, checked the balance, examined the edge without touching it. Then he handed it back. "This weapon has killed before." It wasn't a question. Yuki nodded. "My great-grandfather used it in Earth's last war. Before we joined the Galactic Council." "And you know how to use it?" "He trained me since I was 6 years old, sir." Nash's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Respect maybe. Or curiosity. We'll see. "Everyone, strategy exercise first. Holographic combat scenarios. The goal is to reach the extraction point. You have 10 minutes. The room transformed. Holographic walls appeared, creating a maze. Enemy drones materialized, flying in patterns around obstacles. A glowing exit marker appeared at the far end of the course. "Dren, you're first," Nash called out. Dren charged forward immediately. His plasma rifle blazed, destroying drones left and right. His armor absorbed hits from the holographic enemies. He moved fast, using pure power to smash through every obstacle. When a wall blocked his path, he blasted it. When drones swarmed him, he activated an energy pulse that destroyed them all at once. He reached the extraction point in 4 minutes. The students cheered. Dren raised his rifle triumphantly. Loud, Nash commented. Expensive, effective, but loud. He checked his data pad. You used 60% of your energy reserves. In real combat, you'd be vulnerable after that run. Dren's smile faded slightly. Other students took their turns. The Quillix boy with the targeting computer got stuck when his system crashed from too many targets. A Hetharian girl made it through but took 12 minutes. 3 students failed completely, getting tagged out by the holographic drones. Human, your turn. Yuki stepped onto the course. The maze materialized around her. Drones buzzed to life. She stood still for a moment, just watching. Listening. Learning the patterns. Are you going to move? Someone called from the watching students. Yuki began walking. Not running. Walking. She kept her katana sheathed. When drones flew toward her, she simply stepped aside at the last possible moment. They missed by inches. She studied their flight paths, memorizing the patterns. When a wall blocked her route, she didn't blast through it. She found a gap and slipped through silently. She's not even fighting, Dren said loudly. Is she trying to lose? But Nash was watching carefully. His eyes tracked every movement Yuki made. A group of 5 drones converged on her position. Yuki drew her katana in one smooth motion. The blade flashed once, twice, 3 times. All 5 drones fell, cut cleanly through their cores. She resheathed the blade and kept walking. The other students fell silent. Yuki moved through the maze like water flowing downhill. She found the easiest path. Avoided unnecessary fights. When combat was required, she struck once and moved on. No wasted motion. No excess energy. She reached the extraction point in 6 minutes. Nash checked his pad. 0 energy consumption. Perfect efficiency. 17 drones destroyed with 17 strikes. No misses. He looked up at the class. This is what strategy looks like. Power is useful. But thinking is better. Dren's face darkened. His purple skin turned almost black with anger. The class continued with sparring exercises. Students paired up to practice techniques. Dren dominated every match, his armor and weapons overwhelming his opponents. He moved through 3 partners in 20 minutes. Then he pointed at Yuki. Yo, let's spar. The room went quiet. Everyone stopped to watch. Yuki looked at her katana, then at Dren's training gear. I don't think that's a good idea. Scared? Dren's voice dripped with mockery. Afraid I'll break your precious antique? No, Yuki said calmly. I'm afraid I'll hurt you. Laughter erupted from the watching students. Even some of Nash's assistants chuckled. Dren's face grew darker. You? Hurt me? I'm wearing full combat armor. You have a piece of metal. That's the problem, Yuki replied. She held up her katana. This blade is sharp enough to cut through almost anything. Your training armor isn't designed to stop edged weapons. It's made for energy blasts and plasma fire. So you're refusing? Dren took a step closer. The human is too scared to fight? Yuki met his eyes without fear. I'm not scared. I'm being smart. In real combat I would fight you. Here, in training, someone would get hurt badly. That's not what training is for. She's right, Nash interrupted. He stepped between them. Training weapons are calibrated for safe sparring. Her blade is a real weapon. The rules forbid lethal equipment in practice matches. Then she shouldn't be allowed to carry it. Dren protested. The rules also say every student must have access to their primary weapon for inspection and maintenance, Nash countered. She's following regulations. You're letting your pride speak louder than your sense. Dren's fists clenched, but he stepped back. The other students began whispering immediately. Did you hear that? She refused to fight. The human is afraid after all. All that strategy stuff was just luck. She won't actually fight. Yuki heard every word. She wrapped her katana slowly and returned it to her back. Her face showed nothing. No anger. No sadness. No frustration. But inside, her grandfather's voice spoke clearly. They will test you with words before they test you with weapons. Stay calm. Words cannot cut you. Only your own reaction can harm you. Be like the mountain. Let the wind howl. The mountain does not move. Nash dismissed the class. As students filed out, he called to Yuki. A word, human. Yuki approached. Nash studied her for a long moment. You have real training, he said finally. Not academy training. Not simulation training. Real training. My grandfather was a soldier, sir. He taught me that fighting isn't about winning. It's about surviving. And protecting others. Nash nodded slowly. Your classmates think you're weak now. They think you were afraid to fight Dren. I know, sir. Does that bother you? Yuki thought about this. My grandfather used to say something. He said the loudest student in class is rarely the wisest. And the student everyone fears is rarely the strongest. Your grandfather sounds like a smart man. He was, sir. He died 2 years ago. Yuki's voice stayed steady, but her eyes held old sadness. Before he passed, he gave me this blade. He said someday I would understand why. Nash placed a hand on her shoulder. It was surprisingly gentle for such a scarred warrior. That day may come sooner than you think. This academy doesn't just train fighters. Test them. Really test them. When that happens, remember your training. Remember your grandfather. And remember that sometimes the best weapon isn't the strongest one. It's the one that never fails. Yuki bowed. Thank you, sir. As she left the training hall, Dren and his friends blocked the corridor. They said nothing. Just stared. Making their presence felt. Making her walk around them. Yuki did exactly that. She walked around without looking at them. Without speeding up or slowing down. Just steady steps. One after another. Behind her, Dren's voice carried down the hall. Coward. Yuki kept walking. The mountain does not move. The asteroid simulation zone was the Academy's largest training facility. It recreated real space environments with perfect accuracy. Floating rocks. Zero-gravity sections. Dangerous obstacles. Today's exercise was simple. Navigate through the asteroid field and reach the checkpoint on the other side. 20 students floated in their assigned positions. Yuki checked her magnetic boots and made sure her katana was secure. Around her, other students activated their equipment. Energy shields hummed to life. Plasma rifles charged with glowing power. Targeting computers beeped as they came online. Instructor Nash floated near the entrance, his gray scales reflecting the dim lights. This is a navigation exercise. Stay alert. Watch for hazards. Work together. You have 30 minutes. The blast doors opened. The simulation zone stretched before them like a small universe. Asteroids drifted in complex patterns. Some were small as basketballs. Others were massive as buildings. Emergency lights created shadows that moved and shifted. Dren pushed forward immediately, his armor's thrusters firing. First one to the checkpoint wins. Other students followed. Yuki moved more carefully, using her magnetic boots to walk along the metal floor before it ended. She studied the asteroid patterns, looking for the safest route. Everything seemed normal for the first 5 minutes. Students called out to each other, helping navigate around the larger asteroids. Someone's targeting computer beeped warnings about collision courses. Laughter echoed through the zone as a Quilix student accidentally spun in circles when her thrusters misfired. Then the lights changed. Instead of soft blue emergency lighting, harsh red filled the zone. Warning, a computer voice announced. System malfunction detected. Warning. Nash's voice crackled over the communication channel. Everyone stop moving. Hold your positions. This is not part of the exercise. Yuki grabbed onto a nearby asteroid and held still. Around her, other students did the same. Confusion spread through the group. What's happening? Someone asked. Is this a test? Another voice questioned. Then the mining drones appeared. They came from hidden compartments in the walls. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. Each drone was the size of a large dog with spinning blades designed to cut through rock. Their edges gleamed like razors. They moved fast, darting between asteroids with mechanical precision. Those aren't simulation drones, a Hetherian girl screamed. Those are real mining equipment. Panic erupted immediately. Students scrambled to activate their weapons. Dren raised his plasma rifle and pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. He pulled again. Still nothing. The rifle's power display showed 0. What? No. This was fully charged. Around the zone, the same problem spread like a disease. Energy shields flickered and died. Plasma weapons went dark. Targeting computers shut down with error messages. Even the communication channels filled with static. Electromagnetic pulse. Nash's voice barely came through the interference. Major system failure. All electronic equipment is disabled. The mining drones didn't care about disabled weapons. They swarmed forward, their blades spinning with terrible speed. One drone hit a small asteroid and sliced through it like butter. Rock fragments exploded in all directions. Move. Everyone move. Nash shouted. Get to the emergency exit. Sector 7. Students scattered in every direction. Some tried to run but their magnetic boots had no power. They floated helplessly. Others grabbed onto asteroids and tried to pull themselves along. The drones closed in fast. A Quillix boy screamed as a drone cut through his backpack. He wasn't hurt but supplies scattered into space. Another drone narrowly missed a Hetherian student, its blades cutting so close they sliced through her uniform sleeve. Yuki drew her katana. The blade caught the red emergency light and seemed to glow with its own fire. Unlike every other weapon in the zone, it worked perfectly. No batteries to die. No electronics to fail. Just steel. She moved toward the nearest student, a small Quillix girl frozen with fear as two drones approached her. Yuki's boots still worked because they were simple magnets, not electronic systems. She walked along an asteroid's surface, timing her steps carefully. The first drone dove at the Quillix girl. Yuki's blade flashed. The drone fell in two pieces, its blade still spinning uselessly as it drifted away. The second drone adjusted its course toward Yuki. She waited. At the last possible moment, she stepped aside and struck. Another drone destroyed. Everyone. Yuki's voice cut through the panic. Follow me. Stay close. The human still has a weapon, someone yelled. How? How does hers still work? Dren floated nearby, his useless rifle still in his hands. His armor had no power. The glowing energy cores were dark and dead. He looked at Yuki with wide eyes. Your sword? No electronics, Yuki said simply. Now move. Grab onto the asteroids and pull yourself along. She took the lead, her katana ready. The emergency exit was 3 sectors away. That meant crossing the entire simulation zone while drones swarmed from every direction. Nash appeared, pulling himself hand over hand along the ceiling. Blood floated in small droplets from a cut on his forehead. Yuki, take command. Get everyone to safety. But sir, that's an order. Your weapon is the only one that works. You're in charge now. Nash grabbed a metal pipe from the wreckage of a broken simulation element. It wasn't much, but it was something. I'll try to slow them down. Go. Yuki didn't argue. She turned to the group of terrified students. Listen to me. We move together. No one gets left behind. Use the asteroids for cover. When I say jump, you jump. When I say hide, you hide. Understand? Heads nodded. Even Dren nodded, his pride forgotten in the face of real danger. They began moving. Yuki led from the front, her katana destroying any drone that came close. Behind her, students pulled themselves from asteroid to asteroid. Those who were stronger helped those who were weaker. Lena, Yuki's roommate, helped a small Hetherian boy who was crying. A swarm of 5 drones attacked from the left. Yuki positioned herself between them and the group. Her blade moved in patterns her grandfather had drilled into her for years. High strike. Low strike. Spinning defense. Each movement had purpose. Each cut was exact. 5 drones became scrap metal. Keep moving, she called back. Don't stop. They crossed into Sector 6. The emergency exit was closer now. They could see its green lights in the distance. But so could the drones. A massive swarm gathered ahead, blocking the path. At least 30 drones, maybe more. We're trapped, Dren said, his voice hollow. There's too many. Yuki studied the swarm. Her mind worked like her grandfather had taught her. Every problem has a solution. Every enemy has a weakness. Find it. The drones moved in patterns. Predictable patterns. They responded to movement. They focused on the closest target. I have an idea, Yuki said. She turned to face the group. Everyone grab onto that large asteroid there. Hold tight and don't move. No matter what happens, stay completely still. What are you going to do? Lena asked. Draw them away. Yuki checked her katana. The blade was perfect. Not a scratch despite cutting through dozens of drones. When they follow me, you run for the exit. Don't wait for me. Just run. That's suicide. Dren protested. You can't fight 30 drones alone. I don't need to fight them all. Yuki smiled slightly. I just need to make them chase me instead of you. My grandfather called it being the rabbit. Sometimes the rabbit wins by running, not fighting. Before anyone could argue, Yuki kicked off from the asteroid. She flew through the zero-gravity section, her katana reflecting the red lights. The drone's sensors locked onto her immediately. As one massive swarm, they turned and pursued. Now. Nash's voice crackled through the static. Everyone move now. The students didn't need to be told twice. They pulled themselves toward the emergency exit as fast as they could. Behind them, Yuki led the swarm on a deadly dance through the asteroids. She used every trick her grandfather had taught her. She spun around asteroids, forcing the drones to follow in single file where she could destroy them one by one. She used their own momentum against them, making them crash into rocks. She cut through support cables that held large asteroids in place, dropping tons of stone onto groups of drones. But there were so many, and she was getting tired. A drone got past her guard and sliced across her arm. Pain exploded like fire. Blood floated in red droplets around her. Another drone came from behind and she barely blocked it. Her katana rang like a bell as metal met metal. She looked back. The students were almost at the exit. Almost safe. Just a little longer. Her arms burned with exhaustion. Sweat made her grip slippery. The drones kept coming. Endless. Relentless. Mechanical. Then she saw it. A large structural beam overhead. If she could cut through it at the right angle, it would fall and block the corridor. The drones would be trapped on her side. The students would be safe on the other side. It was also the only path back to the exit for her. Yuki didn't hesitate. She flew up to the beam and struck with all her remaining strength. The katana bit deep into the metal. Once, twice, 3 times. The beam groaned. Yuki, no. Dren's voice echoed. He was at the exit now, looking back. You'll be trapped. The 4th strike. The beam cracked. Drones swarmed around her like angry insects. The 5th strike. The beam broke. Tons of metal fell, crushing dozens of drones and blocking the corridor completely. Yuki found herself on the wrong side of the barrier. Alone. With at least a dozen drones still active. She raised her katana one more time. Her arms shook with exhaustion. Blood ran down her left arm. But her eyes were calm. Clear. Come on then, she whispered. My grandfather faced worse odds than this. The drones circled her like sharks. Then they attacked all at once. Yuki stood on the wrong side of the collapsed beam with 12 drones circling her like predators. Blood dripped from the cut on her arm, floating in red spheres around her. Her katana felt heavy now. Every muscle in her body screamed for rest. The drones attacked together. Yuki's blade moved like water. She didn't think anymore. Her grandfather's training took over. Years of practice. Thousands of strikes. Tens of thousands of defensive movements. Her body knew what to do even when her mind was tired. Strike high. Duck low. Spin left. The drones fell one by one. Their blades couldn't touch her. She moved between their attacks like wind through trees. Her katana found every weak point. Every joint. Every power core. On the other side of the barrier, students pressed against the emergency exit door. It wouldn't open. The electromagnetic pulse had locked it shut. We're trapped, a Quillix girl cried. The door won't work. Dren pounded on the metal with his fists. His useless armor made him clumsy in zero gravity. There has to be a manual override. Look for a panel. Lena found it first. A small red handle hidden behind a cover plate. Here. Help me pull. 3 students grabbed the handle and pulled together. The door cracked open slowly. Manual systems. No electronics. Just gears and muscle power. Through the gap they could see Yuki still fighting. Another drone fell. Then another. But more kept coming from other parts of the simulation zone. She's going to die if we leave her. Lena shouted. Nash appeared beside them, still bleeding from his head wound. He looked through the gap and his eyes widened. No. Look closer. She's not just surviving. She's winning. He was right. Yuki had destroyed 8 of the 12 drones. The remaining 4 seemed hesitant now, their programming confused by this small human who wouldn't fall. But then a new sound echoed through the zone. A deeper humming. Heavier than the mining drones. Oh no, Nash whispered. Construction drones. They're bigger. Stronger. Designed to cut through ship hulls. 5 massive drones emerged from the darkness. Each one was twice the size of the mining drones. Their blades were as long as Yuki was tall. They moved slower but with terrible purpose. We have to help her. Dren pushed past Nash and started climbing back through the gap in the door. Your weapons don't work. Nash grabbed him. I don't care. Dren struggled against the instructor's grip. She saved us. All of us. I won't leave her to die alone. Other students moved forward too. A Hetharian girl picked up a broken piece of metal railing. A Quillix boy found a heavy tool from an emergency kit. Even small Lena grabbed a length of cable, ready to use it as a whip. Nash looked at their faces. Saw their determination. These spoiled academy students with their expensive equipment had learned something today. They had learned what courage looked like. "All right," Nash said. "But we do this smart. We follow her lead. We move as a team. Understood?" "Yes, sir," they shouted together. They pulled the emergency door open wider and climbed back into the simulation zone. 17 students and one injured instructor. Most had no weapons. All of them were terrified. But none of them ran away. Yuki saw them coming. For a moment, surprise crossed her face. Then understanding. Then something that might have been pride. "Form a circle," she commanded. Her voice was tired but strong. "Backs together. Face outward." The students obeyed immediately. They formed a tight circle in the zero gravity, holding onto each other for stability. Yuki positioned herself at the front, facing the 5 massive construction drones. "Listen carefully," she said, breathing hard. "My grandfather taught me 3 rules for surviving impossible fights. First rule, move with purpose. Every action must have a reason. No panic. No random movements. Panic gets you killed." A mining drone darted in from the left. The Hitharian girl swung her metal railing and actually hit it, knocking it off course. Yuki's katana finished it with 1 strike. Second rule, watch the patterns. Everything has a pattern. Even machines. Especially machines. They do the same things over and over. Find the pattern and you find the weakness. Yuki watched the construction drones circle closer. She counted their movements. 1 rotation every 8 seconds. They always approached from the same angles. Always attacked from the same positions. Third rule, breathe. When you're scared, you hold your breath. When you hold your breath, you get weak. When you get weak, you die. So breathe. In and out. Steady and calm. The circle of students breathed together. In and out. The fear didn't disappear, but it became manageable. Controllable. The first construction drone attacked. Its massive blade came down like a guillotine. Yuki didn't try to block it. That would have shattered her katana. Instead, she moved aside at the last moment and struck at the drone's arm joint. Her blade found the weak point and the drone's limbs separated from its body. "See," she called out. "Big doesn't mean invincible. Everything has weak points. You just have to find them." Dren watched with wide eyes. All his life he had been taught that power was everything. Bigger weapons. Stronger armor. More energy. But here was this small human girl with a simple piece of steel, teaching them a different truth. Discipline beat power. Patience beat strength. Thinking beat force. "I understand now," he said quietly. Then louder, "I understand." Another construction drone lunged at the circle. This time, 3 students worked together. One distracted it with a thrown piece of debris. One tangled its blades with cable. Yuki delivered the killing strike. "Good," she encouraged them. "Work together. Use what you have. There's no such thing as a useless weapon if you use it with a smart mind." The battle became a dance. The students learned quickly. They watched the patterns like Yuki taught them. They moved with purpose, not panic. They breathed steady and calm. And slowly, impossibly, they started winning. Nash watched from the edge of the circle, his instructor's eyes seeing everything. These students were learning more in 10 minutes of real danger than they had in 10 weeks of safe training. They were learning what it meant to truly fight. Not with expensive equipment. Not with superior technology. But with courage and teamwork and clever thinking. 2 construction drones remained. They seemed to recognize the threat now and coordinated their attack. One went high while one went low. A pincer movement designed to split the circle's defense. "Autumn wind," Yuki suddenly shouted. "Everyone down. Grab onto something and don't move." The students obeyed instantly. They had learned to trust her completely. Yuki planted her feet against a small asteroid. She held her katana with both hands and began to spin. Not randomly. Not wildly. With perfect control. Her blade extended outward like the spoke of a wheel. Around and around she spun, creating a circle of deadly steel. The 2 construction drones hit her spinning defense at the same moment. The impact sent vibrations up Yuki's arms like lightning. Pain exploded through her wounded arm. But she didn't stop spinning. Couldn't stop spinning. Her grandfather's voice filled her mind. "When you commit to a technique, you follow through. Always follow through. No hesitation. No fear." Sparks flew as katana met industrial blades. The construction drones pushed forward with hydraulic strength. Yuki pushed back with human determination. For 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours, she held them both at bay. A small human girl against 2 massive machines. Then her katana found its target. The spinning blade caught the first drone's power core and pierced through. The drone exploded in a shower of sparks. The force of the explosion threw Yuki into a spin, but she used the momentum. She completed the rotation and struck the second drone from behind, cutting through its control systems. Both construction drones went dark and drifted away as lifeless metal. Yuki stopped spinning and grabbed onto an asteroid to steady herself. Her arms shook so badly she could barely hold her katana. Blood covered her left side now. Sweat and exhaustion made her vision blur. But she was smiling. Around her, the students erupted in cheers. They shouted and laughed and cried with relief. Even Nash was grinning despite his injuries. Dren floated over to Yuki. His purple face showed emotions he had never felt before. Shame. Respect. Gratitude. He raised his hand in the Zentari salute of honor. A gesture his people only gave to the greatest warriors. I called you weak, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I called your blade primitive. I called you a coward. I was wrong about everything. You're the strongest person I've ever met. And that sword. He looked at the katana with new eyes. That sword is worth more than all our technology combined. Yuki lowered her blade and looked at the other students. They all watched her with the same expression. Respect. Real respect. Not because she was powerful, but because she was skilled. Because she was brave. Because she had saved them all. My grandfather once told me something, Yuki said softly. He said the newest weapon wins battles. But the oldest wisdom wins wars. Today we won because we remembered the old ways. We worked together. We stayed calm. We thought instead of panicked. That's the real lesson. Nash pulled himself over to the group. The maintenance crew will arrive soon to fix the systems and rescue us. But before they do, I want all of you to remember this moment. Remember what you learned here. Remember that technology is a tool, not a crutch. And remember that the best weapon isn't always the most expensive one. Sometimes it's just a piece of steel held by the right person. He looked directly at Yuki. And sometimes that person is an 11-year-old human girl with her grandfather's sword. The emergency lights began to shift from red back to blue. Somewhere in the station, the electromagnetic pulse was wearing off. Help was coming. But none of them would ever forget what happened in the darkness. None of them would ever look at Yuki's katana the same way again. And none of them would ever doubt that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Yuki wrapped her katana slowly and held it close. Thank you, grandfather, she whispered. I finally understand what you meant about the weight of this blade. It's not about the steel. It's about everything the steel represents. Honor, discipline, courage, and the wisdom to know when to fight and when to protect. The blade felt lighter now somehow. Or maybe she had just grown stronger. The maintenance crew arrived 15 minutes later. They came through the emergency exit with medical kits and repair equipment. Their leader, a tall Hitharian engineer named Koros, stopped when he saw the destruction inside the simulation zone. Dozens of destroyed drones floated everywhere. Construction drones cut in half. Mining drones reduced to scrap. Debris from the collapsed beam. And in the middle of it all, 20 students and one instructor, all alive. What happened here? Koros breathed. The damage report said catastrophic failure. We expected casualties. Many casualties. Nash floated forward, holding a cloth against his bleeding head. No casualties. Every student survived. How? All the weapons were disabled. The safety systems failed. Those construction drones could cut through hull plating. Nash pointed at Yuki. She sat on a small asteroid, letting Lena wrap her wounded arm with emergency bandages. Her katana lay across her lap, its blade still perfect and unmarked despite everything it had cut through. That human child, Nash said simply. She saved them all. With that, Koros stared at the katana. Then at Yuki. Then back at the destroyed drones. One girl? With a sword? That's impossible. I watched it happen, Nash replied. Impossible or not, it's the truth. The medical team treated everyone's injuries. Yuki's arm needed proper attention, but the cut wasn't as bad as it looked. The medic, a small Quilix woman, cleaned and sealed the wound with regenerative gel. You're very lucky, the medic said. Few millimeters deeper and you would have lost use of this arm. Yuki looked at her bandaged arm. My grandfather had a scar in the same place. He got it during the war. He always said it was his reminder to keep his guard higher. Smart man, your grandfather. He was the smartest man I ever knew. The academy director arrived an hour later. Director Vesh was an ancient Hitharian with white scales and eyes that had seen countless battles. She inspected the damage personally, floating through the wreckage with growing astonishment. She found Nash supervising the student evacuation. Instructor. Give me your full report. Nash explained everything. The system failure. The electromagnetic pulse. The drones. And Yuki. Director Vesh listened without interrupting. When Nash finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Bring the human girl to my office. Tomorrow morning. I want to speak with her personally. That night, the entire academy buzzed with stories. Students who weren't there heard from students who were. The tale grew with each telling, but the core truth remained the same. Yuki Chin, the 11-year-old human with the ancient sword, had saved 20 lives. In her room, Yuki sat at her desk. Lena was already asleep, exhausted from the day's terror. Yuki pulled out her communication pad and began writing a message home. Her fingers moved slowly, carefully choosing each word. Dear grandfather, she typed. I wish you were here. I wish I could tell you this in person. But I know you're watching somehow. You always said you would be. She paused, looking at her katana where it rested against the wall. Even in the dim light, the blade seemed to glow softly. Today something happened. Something you prepared me for, but I didn't understand until now. The other students laughed at your sword. They called it primitive. They called me weak for carrying it. But you taught me to be patient. You taught me to wait. You taught me that proof comes through action, not words. Her wounded arm ached as she typed, but she continued. Today there was an accident. A bad one. All the modern weapons failed. All the technology everyone trusted stopped working. But your blade didn't fail. It couldn't fail. Because it doesn't need batteries or computers or power cells. It just needs someone who knows how to use it properly. Yuki closed her eyes, remembering her grandfather's weathered hands guiding hers through the basic strikes. She had been 6 years old. The katana had seemed impossibly heavy then. He had smiled and said, "You'll grow into it. The blade never changes. You change. And when you're ready, the blade will feel light as air." He had been right. Today, despite her exhaustion and pain, the blade had felt perfect in her hands. I saved my classmates today, grandfather. All of them. And I did it using everything you taught me. Move with purpose. Watch the patterns. Breathe steady and calm. Every lesson. Every drill. Every time you made me practice the same strike 1,000 times until it was perfect. All of it mattered today. She looked over at Lena sleeping peacefully. A few hours ago, that girl had been terrified and helpless. Now she was safe because Yuki had remembered her training. But the most important thing I learned wasn't about fighting. It was about what you always tried to tell me about this blade. You said it had weight. Not physical weight. Something else. Something deeper. I never understood what you meant. I thought you were being poetic. Yuki picked up the katana and laid it across her desk. She ran her fingers along the sheath, feeling the old wood worn smooth by generations. Now I understand. The weight isn't the steel. It's the responsibility. It's knowing that people depend on you. It's understanding that this blade represents 400 years of family honor. It represents your sacrifice in the war. It represents every ancestor who carried it before me. When I hold this sword, I carry all of that. That's the real weight. Tears formed in her eyes, but she blinked them away. You asked me to promise something before you died. You made me swear I would never use this blade for pride or anger. Only for protection. Only to help others. Only when there was no other choice. I promised you. And today I kept that promise. I didn't fight to prove I was strong. I fought because my friends needed me. Because there was no one else. Because it was the right thing to do. She sat back and looked at what she had written. It felt incomplete. There was so much more to say. So many feelings she couldn't put into words. Tomorrow the academy director wants to see me. I don't know if I'm in trouble or being honored or what. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that I finally understand why you gave me this blade. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a test. A lesson. A responsibility. Yuki typed the final lines carefully. The other students respect me now. They want me to teach them. They finally understand that old doesn't mean weak. Simple doesn't mean primitive. They learned that technology is wonderful, but it's not everything. Sometimes the oldest ways are the best ways. She paused, then added, "Thank you, grandfather. For everything. For the training. For the lessons. For believing in me when no one else did. I promise I'll make you proud. I promise I'll honor this blade and everything it represents. I love you. I miss you. And I finally understand." Yuki sent the message and closed her communication pad. She knew her family wouldn't receive it until morning Earth time. They were probably sleeping now, unaware of what had happened here. A soft knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. She opened it to find Dren standing in the corridor. His purple face looked uncertain. Humble. Nothing like the arrogant boy from a few days ago. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. Yuki stepped into the hallway and closed the door behind her so Lena wouldn't wake. Dren struggled to find words. Finally he performed a full Zentari bow. Not the casual nod he gave to equals. Not the quick gesture he gave to instructors. A full bow. The kind Zentari warriors gave only to those they considered true heroes. "I was wrong," he said, still bowing. "About everything. About you. About your blade. About what makes someone strong." "You can stand up," Yuki said gently. Dren straightened but kept his eyes lowered. "My whole life I've been taught that power comes from technology. Better weapons. Stronger armor. More advanced equipment. My family has money, so I always had the best of everything. I thought that made me superior. And now?" Yuki asked. "Now I know that none of it matters if you don't have the skill and courage to use it properly. Today when my rifle died and my armor failed, I was useless. Helpless. But you had the one weapon that couldn't fail. And the training to use it correctly. You saved my life. You saved all our lives." Yuki shook her head. "We saved each other. You came back for me. You and the others. You didn't have to do that. Your weapons didn't work, but you came back anyway. That took real courage. Only because you showed us what courage looks like first." Dren finally met her eyes. "I have a request. It's probably too much to ask after how I treated you, but I have to try." "What is it?" "Teach me. Not how to use a sword. I know that takes years. But teach me how you think. How you stay calm. How you see patterns and solve problems. How you turn disadvantages into advantages. That's what I really need to learn." Yuki smiled. "My grandfather would have liked you." "Really?" "Even after how I acted. Especially because of how you acted. He always said the best students are the ones who start out wrong and have the courage to admit it and change. Anyone can be right from the beginning. It takes strength to admit you were wrong and become better." Other students began appearing in the corridor. First one, then another, then groups. They all came with the same request. "Teach us. Show us. Help us understand." Yuki looked at all their faces. Different species. Different worlds. Different cultures. But all of them had learned the same lesson today. Technology was wonderful, but it wasn't everything. Discipline mattered. Training mattered. Wisdom mattered. "I'll teach you what I can," she told them. "But remember, I'm still learning too. I'm not a master. I'm just someone who had a very good teacher." "That's enough," Lena said, appearing from their room. She had woken up after all. "You saved us. You showed us a better way. That makes you our teacher now, whether you feel ready or not." The next morning, Yuki stood outside Director Vesh's office. Her arms still ached despite the regenerative gel. Her body was sore from the fighting. But she stood straight and proud, her katana properly secured at her side. The door opened. "Enter," Director Vesh's voice called. The office was simple for someone so important. Few decorations. No trophies or awards on display. Just a desk, some chairs, and windows showing the stars beyond the station. Director Vesh gestured for Yuki to sit. "Do you know why I asked you here?" "No, Director. I've been running this academy for 32 years. I've trained thousands of students. Warriors from every species in the Galactic Council. And in all that time, I've never seen anything like what you did yesterday." Yuki waited silently. "Instructor Nash tells me you're 11 years old. Is that correct?" "Yes, Director." "And you've been training with that blade since you were 6? "Yes, Director." Director Vesh stood and walked to the window. Her white scales caught the starlight. "I fought in the border wars. I've seen real combat. I've lost friends. I've made mistakes that cost lives. So believe me when I say this. What you did yesterday was extraordinary. Not just the fighting. Many students can fight. But the leadership. The calmness under pressure. The way you taught them while protecting them. That's rare. Very rare." "Thank you, Director." "I'm not finished." Vesh turned to face her. "You remind me why we started this academy. Not to teach students how to use the newest weapons. Not to train them in the latest technology. But to teach them how to think. How to adapt. How to survive when everything goes wrong. You did that better than any graduate we've produced in a decade." Yuki felt her cheeks grow warm. "Your classmates are asking for you to lead training sessions. Instructor Nash supports this idea. So do I. But I need to know something first." Vesh sat down across from Yuki. "Why did you come to this academy? With your skills, you could have stayed on Earth. Taught students there. Lived a safe life. Why come here where everyone doubted you? Yuki thought carefully before answering. My grandfather told me something before he died. He said the blade stays sharp by testing it against hard things. If you only cut soft things, the edge gets dull. I came here because I needed to test myself. I needed to prove that his teachings still matter. That old wisdom still has value in this modern galaxy. Director Vesh smiled. It was the first time Yuki had seen her smile. Your grandfather was a wise man. And he raised a worthy student. She stood and extended her hand in the human gesture of respect. Welcome to Galactic Youth Academy, Yuki-chin. Not as just another student, but as someone who has already taught us all an important lesson. Yuki shook her hand. Now go. Your classmates are waiting. You have lessons to teach. Yuki bowed and left the office. In the corridor outside, dozens of students waited. They erupted in cheers when they saw her. Even the ones who had mocked her days before now looked at her with admiration. She walked through them toward the training hall, her katana secure at her side. The blade felt lighter than ever. Or maybe she had finally grown strong enough to carry its true weight. Behind her, she heard them following. Not because she commanded them. Not because she forced them. But because she had earned their respect through action, courage, and wisdom. Just as her grandfather had taught her. Just as the blade had always represented.